Hi, my name is Vicki Ray, and I am the mother of a severely wounded veteran who was shot in the head in Iraq in the war between Fallujah and Ramadi, November 13th, 2004. My son was a gunner on a Humvee, and he took an AK-47 bullet to the head. It blew him out of the Humvee. They couldn't stop to pick him up, and they had to go back and get him 40 minutes later, and he was still alive, but he was presumed dead. They flew him to Baghdad and did 5 hours brain surgery on him and removed 30% of his frontal lobe. And I got a phone call while I was at church that day from a Sergeant Charles Rife, and he left me a voicemail and he said, "Ma'am, this is Sergeant Charles Rife, U.S. Army. Your son's been fatally shot in Iraq, and you need to call 1-800 blah, blah, blah." So that's how I was told by a message left on my phone about my son. We all know that's not the proper protocol, but that's what happened to me. Anyway, to make this story a little shorter, I ended up, because of my advocacy to help my son at Walter Reed when he was flown there, because he did survive the brain surgery. He did survive getting 30% of his brain removed, and he survived the flight to Landstuhl, Germany, and then to the United States, to Walter Reed, where I ended up being with him and staying with him. I ended up meeting Deputy Secretary of Defense at the time, Gordon England, and Brigadier General Frank Helmick, and I have such great admiration and respect for both of those men who supported all the veterans and the veteran families that were at Walter Reed at the time. I ended up being able to talk to them and letting them know how much I needed their help and support in making sure my son was taken care of properly. I ended up being appointed to be the first state representative for the severely wounded in the United States. So I was the Texas state representative for the severely wounded. I loved my job. I put on many concerts, many programs to help support our veterans, not only in Texas, but my position grew to getting support for families all across America. I got phone calls from Alaska, Missouri, all over, because I took my job very seriously and I supported these families. And once you're known in the area of helping veteran families, that news spreads very fast, which was great. I find myself telling you this story and trying to ask you for some help, because there's been so many things that happened in our story for my son that has been horrifying, that involves the VA. I will have to tell you that my son was held hostage at one point at Walter Reed. I was threatened by the doctors in a meeting with my advocate, who was a retired lieutenant colonel, a Green Beret Special Forces man, who, without him, I don't know what my son and I would have done. But he was in this meeting, and I have witnesses to the entire group of people that were there and our attorney, that I was threatened by the doctor who was in charge of the service members with brain injury there, that if I didn't do what he told me to do, that he would prove my son was competent, he could take care of himself, and he would take my guardianship away. And there is a lot more to our story than just that right there, but I can prove all of this. I also am making this video because just a couple months ago, the Dallas VA turned down my son to pay for his dental care to get a final bridge put in his mouth, due to the fact that the VA pulled out my son's jaw teeth years ago and has caused him severe issues, not only with his bite, but he did get new teeth put in that they had paid for after we advocated for it, and that helped him greatly. But because of the other teeth missing that the VA pulled out, it was causing him to continually break his brand new crowns. So the VA refused to pay for it. My son has to be put under sedation when he gets anything done because of his brain injury. He can't just have a shot and be numbed. He has to be put under. And a VA worker that used to work for the VA told me specifically that the VA will not go out of their way to put somebody under if it's a lot of trouble or fix something. They just pull the teeth. So this is an issue. The issue for our veterans is that we should have the choice to go to any doctor, any dentist, any specialist that we feel is necessary for our son or daughter or ourselves if we are a veteran. I am appalled that I've had to write several letters to ask the VA to rectify this issue, and they totally have disregarded my request. So that's why I'm making this video. And I also want to meet with you, President Trump, because there are many other veterans in the Dallas-Fort Worth area that have been abused, turned down for support. And I know they're all over the country because I hear about the stories all the time. And I can bring to a meeting or a Zoom call with you caseworkers that are working just right in this local area of veterans that have been denied home care support and to be able to go to outside doctors. And I can also tell you that this has happened with our dentist office, and the dentist office wants to take care of our veterans. They love them and they are so good with them, and they are so good with my son. But to feel like they can't speak out because they might lose their contract with the VA, I think this is appalling. Something has to be done immediately. So I'm asking you to please contact me. Please let me tell you the full story of what me and my son have gone through and the PTSD it's caused me, let alone my son. My son is afraid to even go near a VA facility, especially in Dallas. We have to check in with the VA facility locally just so I can be able to be his caregiver at home, which I don't have a problem with, but it still traumatizes my son. And that's not right, to let our wounded veterans feel traumatized because they don't want to go to the VA. And yet they have to beg to try to get things paid for to get outside care and not get it done by the VA. So I'm asking you if you would please give me a little bit of your time to give you specific more details, and I can back up my story with evidence from our attorney. We have a full-time attorney, with the advocate who went with my son, who was at Walter Reed in this meeting, along with the other nurses that were in that same meeting when this specific doctor threatened me on the phone and scared me so bad. And I had to do exactly what he said, or he was going to prove that my son with a brain injury, missing 30% of his brain, was competent and okay. And he's declared incompetent in the Texas courts. How can that be? How can somebody get away with threatening a family? This is wrong. The VA is still messed up, and it's got to change. And there needed to be more people like me when I worked for the Department of Defense, and I had DOD clearance, that could take names and get stories from other veterans and their family members and let you know exactly what's really going on out here on the outside that never makes headline. So please contact me. My email is agentvf, AGENT, V as in Victor, F as in Foxtrot, @gmail.com. And I'm sure you can find my phone number. My name is Vicki Ray, and my son's name is Jeremy Snowden. And I really need your help. We need your help. We are so thankful you got into office, and we already can see all the wonderful miracles that you're doing for the people in North Carolina, and now the disasters that were, I don't even know what to say about that, because I know way too much about different things that have occurred. I know you know the truth about California, so please, please contact me so we can not allow the VA healthcare system to do this to any more families and to deny them paying for outside care when any of our service members should be able to get care wherever they want. Thank you, President Trump, and thank you for all the elected officials that you have in place, and for Kash Patel, for all of them who have now taken over positions that need honest authority running them, instead of the lack of integrity and honesty that has been there in the past. God bless, and I hope we hear from you soon.